Hey everyone, we're back here for another Tips from the Tips video. It's been a little bit since we made our last one, but let's get right to it. This week we're going to talk about tempo, which is, if I had to say, the most important thing in this game, PGA Tour 2K21. First off, where is tempo located? What does it do? Well, tempo, obviously in golf, is going to be very important. You're going to hear it all the time when you're watching real golf, and you will see it executed here in the virtual golf game as well. It's going to be on your screen. If you look right here, this little, that is probably the worst arrow I've ever drawn in my entire life. That little white area at the top of that arc, that is the perfect tempo zone, if you will. You'll see a little bit of a gray on either side, and that is going to be gray slow or gray fast. Now I'm going to take a practice swing here. That was a red fast, so if I am outside that zone, that would be a fast tempo. If I am on the other side, that is a red slow and a slow tempo. You really want to have the perfect tempo right down the middle, and that is going to, as you see on my screen, move the ball in the direction of that provision, that line. Now this is the same if you shape the ball. Doesn't matter, you're not going to intentionally try to hit it fast to shape the ball, and you're not going to intentionally try to hit it slow. Pre-updates in this game, you may have been able to use those to your advantage, a particular tempo other than perfect. However, the way the game is designed now is you always want that perfect tempo, and that does simulate a good thing in golf. So by hitting a perfect tempo or a slight fast here, we're kind of just barely off on that. It's going to really shape that ball in the intended direction of that line, and that's critical. So it's, on some of these fairways, it's not as important because they're so wide. But if you're starting to play at a competitive level, for example here, if I hit this fast, I'm probably off the green to the left, or if I hit this slow, maybe you also lose yardage on a slow, so you might not even hit this green. So I'm going to try to hit this right on the money and see if this will be right next to the hole. I'm going to take this same shot again.
For the green here.
So there it is. I'm a little, maybe perhaps a little bit left. Let's try to do that again and see how bad it is if you hit a fast or a slow.
Okay, here's your.
Alright, I'm going to try to hit the same shot here, but fast this time. Alright, so just a gray fast there. My swing plan slightly off. I was trying to intentionally hit it. But see how far offline that is?
Well, you can't.
That's just a gray fast. A red fast is even going to be worse. Same thing happens on the slow side. So the question then becomes, what do I do to get a perfect tempo? Well, it's obviously going to take a lot of practice, but there's different clubs as well. The clubs are going to have forgiveness, and there's also settings. Let's start with settings. So the difficulty that you play on, say if you are a beginner, let's look how big the white area is. Oh, they don't even have tempo here. Settings, difficulty, swing timing on. I think that's the one we need. Yes. So swing timing is on, and most people are always going to play with the swing timing on. At any sort of society level, this will be the case. Now, it's like there is no even red fast here. The whole thing is gray. So most people are not going to play at this. As you see, though, if I move my club, so 3-wood driver, like a driver out of the sand, you're not going to hit a perfect tempo with that. As easily as you would perhaps a wedge out of the sand or an iron. These are over dramatized, however, you get the picture. Let's go to a more typical setting, which is, let's start with Pro-Am. Pro-Am, you're going to see that shrink quite a bit. It's still a decent size, but same sort of thing in theory applies. Once I get to the hybrid, the 3-wood, the driver, that really starts to shrink. So it's all going to depend on your lie. If you're on the tee, it's still going to change based on the club selection as well. Let's go all the way to Legend, which most people don't play at, but it does exist. you can see how small it can get now. So this is the peak difficulty, and even competitive gaming does not play at this difficulty. There are some societies that will compete at this level. However, most people are going to be found playing at the pro or masters swing difficulty. The majority are actually at the pro. So let's go back there for the time being. We'll see. This is what I would call a reasonable area to hit it perfect. It's going to seem simple when I say this, and it's really true though. If you're getting fast, you need to slow it down, slow down the swing. And if you're getting slow, you're going to need to speed up the swing. So the input system in this game is pretty darn accurate. There may be some slight discrepancies, but there are a lot of people that can do this very consistently and can hit those perfect tempos, or at least near perfect. As you can see, that forgiveness area gets smaller and smaller with the different clubs, as we've already mentioned. So it's going to be more difficult to hit dialed in on that exact perfect. Now, do you need to hit it perfect every time? No, but it's just going to be the number one thing that, if you could fix anything about your game, if you can master perfect tempo, your scoring will immediately be better in this game, guaranteed. All of this description is what tempo is and how important it is in this game, right? So how do we get better? So first off, I would start on a difficulty setting where you can at least get perfect tempo. I'd say 40 to 50% of the time. You should be able to at least manage that. Once you start to get to about 75 to 80% of the time, or maybe like closer to 90% of the time, that's when I would try to graduate to the next level. And as long as you can get to the pro tempo and hit 80 to 90%, that's like peak of where you need to be. Some societies do play in Masters or Legend, but that is not the vast majority. As I mentioned, the competitive societies are playing currently in pro swing. So you're going to want to get to that pro level and then try to bump up that 80 to 90% to like 95 to 98% and keep going up and up until you're near at 100% perfect tempos. So start out low, gradually increase, and make sure that you keep having those perfect tempos. If you shy on one side or the other, you're going to want to go to the driving range, and you're going to want to make sure you have that good repetition. Try to find that nice rhythm. It's going to be the same rhythm for just about all different clubs. Shorter shots like a splash or a pitch or a chip may feel slightly different, but a full-length shot like your 4-iron versus a driver, it should feel almost identical as far as obtaining that tempo. The other thing I mentioned is if you go into your golf bag, you will be able to select different clubs. As we see here, the forgiveness over on the right hand side of your screen, that is going to indicate which club is going to have the most white area for perfect tempo. So as you go down, you can see a lot of these are less and less forgiveness. Some of these are more. I have one of the least forgiving drivers, as it becomes more demanding to need that maximum distance rather than forgiveness. So as you see, for example, this one, it has a drastic increase in forgiveness. I do lose a good chunk of distance by switching to this club. So instead of going my max carry here for my driver, or my typical carry is 296, that one might be 285, and I'm going to want that extra 11 yards of carry consistently on my driver because I feel comfortable enough with it. Get to a point where you feel comfortable with your difficulty that you're playing at and your club set. Slowly migrate towards the longer clubs, make it more difficult to hit the perfect tempos, but you're gaining distance. I still have a forgiving bag. I do have some forgiving clubs. My driver is probably the least forgiving club in my bag. Do that in combination with your difficulty level, and you are slowly going to become a much better player in this game. Hit those perfect tempos. It is the most important thing for success in this game. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to continue to try to make these videos as we come across more items that we can provide tips for you across the golf game. I know it's an older game at this point. As I mentioned earlier, I am very much looking forward to the next iteration of golf games, and we're going to stay on top of that coverage for you. As soon as we have any news, we'll pass it along. I'll post some other videos that you may find interesting if you're into or getting into this game late. It is not too late. There is still a great, massive community, and look forward to chatting with you some more.